Coming up on the Angus Report, research from 2 Midwest universities aimed to help improve heifer fertility.
We visit with CattleFax CEO Randy Blach and hear what he thinks beef consumers are demanding.
Kelli Retallick, Director of Genetic Service for Angus Genetics Incorporated, tells us about Maternal Plus, the association's whole herd reporting program.
And we visit with American Angus Association employees about what they're thankful for this year. This is the Angus Report. Welcome to the Angus Report. I'm Bob Cervera.
And I'm Clint Mefford.
This week, we're talking about heifer fertility research from Kansas State University and the University of Missouri. Megan Rolf, assistant professor at Kansas State University, spoke about the research project at the 2018 Beef Improvement Federation Conference. She says the research could prove profitable to cattlemen.
Fertility rates haven't necessarily always been increasing throughout the beef industry. In many ways, they've been decreasing by some of the metrics that we have available. And so it becomes important to sort of think about what are our methods to improve fertility. And one of those is to try and identify recessive lethal haplotypes or mutations within the genome. And once we've sort of identified any sort of mutation, it becomes a possibility to manage that mutation to increase fertility rate in cattle. The inheritance of those conditions works exactly the same way. The difference is that we don't actually see those calves because the result is an open cow. These types of things are obviously really important to think about from a profitability standpoint. So the neat thing about this project is if we can identify those conditions and the mutations that cause them, we can manage around them in the same way that we can manage around the mutations that cause curly calf or NH or anything like that, and as a result, increase fertility in beef cattle.
Rolf says comprehensive breeding and genetic records are important to all operations, specifically those that want to increase heifer fertility.
If you're not keeping really close fertility records and things like that, they can be really hard to identify that there's even anything going on from a sort of production record standpoint. So that's where the genomic technology can really be incredibly useful, because with the approach taken in this project, we can go through and look for mutations in the genome that we never see as homozygous, and those are candidates for potential lethal mutations. A lot of these types of conditions or mutations, this stuff happens naturally. It's really not a big deal. You know, we used to sort of encounter these things and immediately panic, and it's with genomic technologies and the ability to manage around these things now, it's really not anything that we have to panic about. So we can really take a deep breath, identify these mutations, and then really focus on managing around them so that we're not sacrificing our really fantastic animals that have a lot of good attributes in other areas just because we happen to have one sort of thing that we need to manage around.
Mutations and genetic conditions can carry negative connotations. However, Rolf's research is adding a positive light to the subject.
One of the things that can happen when you sort of think about identifying new problems or new issues is that it's easy to sort of focus on the negative. And I think one of the key things about this project is I think we can really start to transition our attitudes into thinking about these things in a more positive way, because we really do have the tools now to manage around them and to not see sort of the negative attributes either from an animal well-being standpoint in terms of like the current ones where we have stillborn calves or things like that. And we also can see benefits from things like this project with recessive lethals increasing fertility rates.
Visit beefreproduction.org for more information.
Nutrition cost or feed cost represents the single largest input in every cow-calf operation. The key to a profitable operation is managing your cow herd's nutrition. To do that, simply know each cow's requirements and develop a plan to meet her needs. Beef cows have their greatest nutritional requirements from calving to breeding. It's critical to meet nutrition demands during that time frame to ensure reproductive success. Cow size and milk production both have tremendous impacts on requirements. It's important to know your cow's weights and milk production to effectively determine their needs. Creating multiple management groups in your cow herd is a practical approach to managing your cow herd nutrition. One way to do that is to reduce the length of your breeding season, which subsequently reduces the calving season. Herds with a smaller calving window can more effectively manage and meet the nutritional requirements of the majority of animals in the group. Most cow-calf operations choose to calve in the spring so that the time of the cow herd's greatest nutritional requirement correlates with the time of greatest forage ability and quality. After analyzing base forages and feedstuffs, supplementation strategies or dry lot rations can be formulated. If cows maintain a consistent body condition score, you have achieved your goal of providing the proper nutrition to meet all your cow's requirements.
CattleFax CEO Randy Blach spoke at the 2018 Certified Angus Beef Annual Conference in Maui in September. Blach told attendees the history of beef demand and where the industry is headed.
Well, we've gone through a major change in beef demand from where we were back in the early 1980s to where we are currently today. From 1980 to 1998, beef demand was cut in half. Now, put that in perspective. That means half the people aren't enjoying their eating experience. That's just, it's not acceptable. The industry got focused on changing things in the late 90s, early part of the 2000s, and the quality grades started to improve. And today, beef demand has grown tremendously to the point of the equivalent of about $20 a hundred in the last 20 years. So it's an incredible story.
Blach says beef quality has led to a drastic increase in beef demand domestically and internationally.
Well, it's been the growth in domestic demand has been big. You know, we've gone from 1 in 4 steaks being an unsatisfactory eating experience where the eating experience has improved dramatically. So certified Angus beef has been a big part of that with improving the overall quality of the product, the consistency, the quality, upper 2/3 choice, the brand promise. All of those things have made a major difference. Today, 20% of all the beef that will be harvested in the U.S. this year on fed beef will be certified Angus beef or higher. So that's an incredible story by itself. Now, it's not all the domestic market. We have to remember the export markets represent for about 16 to 17% of all the CAB sales. And exports have grown at the pace of over 30% over each of the last 2 years.
He also said consumer demands can be seen at the meat case.
Well, what you look at is where are consumers voting with their dollars. And if we look over the last 20 years, we've seen consumer spending increase $113 billion in 20 years. Beef has won $60 billion that increase in spending. Pork and poultry combined are $53 billion increase in spending. So think about what that means. Beef is only, when we look at it, beef is going to be about 58 pounds of consumption this year. We're going to consume 90 pounds of poultry and we're going to consume 50 pounds of pork. So you look at that, even though beef is at that smaller percentage of our overall consumption from a dollar standpoint, it's a great story. That 7% increase in market share of spending.
Visit CattleFax.com for more beef market news and highlights.
On October 25th, the European Parliament adopted a limit on farm antibiotic use in the European Union. Parliament announced veterinary medicines must not, under any circumstances, be served to improve animal husbandry. The new law limits antimicrobial use as a preventative measure to a single animal instead of a group when no clinical signs of infection are present. The treatment of a group of animals when one shows clinical signs of illness is called judicial use. Veterinarians can justify judicial use as a last resort when a high risk of infections has been properly diagnosed. The European Commission said select antimicrobials will be reserved for treating humans. What does this mean for producers? Imported foodstuffs will have to meet EU standards. Antibiotics may not be used to enhance animal growth. The ruling still needs to be adopted by the European Council before official publication. Stay tuned, more Angus Report after a break. Welcome back to the Angus Report. Delegates at the 2018 Angus Convention elected new board members and officers.
Rachel Robinson has more with our association update, and we hear from Certified Angus Beef for a market update.
5 directors and 2 officers were elected to the 2018-2019 American Angus Association Board of Directors. The 135th Annual Convention of Delegates voted to elect the members and officers during the 2018 Angus Convention in Columbus, Ohio. The members are Jim Brinkley, James Coffey, Chuck Grove, Mike McCravey, and Mick Verilick. The directors took office immediately after the election and will serve a 3-year term. The delegates also elected John Pfeiffer Jr. as the president and chairman of the board. Don Schiefelbein was elected as the vice president and vice chairman of the board. David Dalporto will serve as the 2018-2019 treasurer. Congratulations to all the new board members and officers. Now over to Nicole Ursig for the Certified Angus Beef Market Update.
Welcome to the Certified Angus Beef Market Report. I'm Nicole Ursig. Today we're talking about the Angus influence on the cow herd with Dr. Justin Sexton, our Certified Angus Beef Director of Supply. So Justin, we've obviously seen the Angus breed grow in prominence and its influence over the U.S. cow herd. Tell me what those trends have looked like in recent history.
Yeah, as we look across the countryside, we see more Angus influence cattle for sure, and the data would back that up. As early as 10 years ago, the cow herd would have been about 47% predominantly black hide or Angus influence, and today that number has grown all the way to 67%, and the fed cattle supply reflects that at the same 67-68%.
So what has caused this change, especially such a rapid change?
Yeah, with the long generation interval, change is slow, but this time has really been sped up by the drought. Most recent drought in 2012-2013, a couple of years earlier in Texas. And so we see a higher rate of culling in cow herds, and those replacements, as we've built the cow herd back, more likely to be Angus genetics bred to Angus bulls.
And how has this impacted the supply of certified Angus beef?
Well, we have a higher percentage of the cattle that are eligible because now they meet the predominantly black-hided barrier to entry. And then also, as we've increased the percent Angus influence, we've increased the selection for marbling as well.
Are producers getting paid for these genetic selections that they're making?
Yeah, they can get paid if they retain ownership. Those who are making the genetic selection ultimately have to retain them to see the benefit, but certainly the feeders are able to capture that benefit in the certified Angus beef premium.
If I'm a producer who wants to be able to capture that percentage of the premium, what advice do you have for me?
The longer you own them, the more likely you are to make good on that genetic investment.
Well, thank you, Justin.
We check in now on the latest cattle market news with our market update, brought to you by CattleFax.
Hello, I'm Troy Bockelman with the CattleFax update. Year to date, steer carcass weights are up 4.3 pounds or 0.5% above a year ago. Seasonally, carcass weights peak in mid-November before moving lower into the following summer. 2018 has been a seasonal year for carcass weights, with steer weights continuing to track near the 5-year average and year-ago levels. Yet recent wet and wintry weather has caused a counter-seasonal move in USDA steer carcass weights. Last week, the USDA reported steer carcass weight was 894 pounds. This was down 5 pounds from a year ago and 9 pounds lower than just 2 weeks ago. As the actual weight data is released on a 2-week lag, sales data suggests that this trend could continue, as indicated by the squares. This change in weights can influence the market as performance weakens due to muddy pen conditions and cold cattle. Producers may look to feed cattle longer to attain the target outweights, and as a result, limit the front-end supply of market-ready cattle. Conversely, producers may look to market the cattle on the expected out date, only lighter in weight. Yet, in order for the market to be influenced, the demand would need to be there to meet it. Either of these choices could limit the near-term supply of beef available, unless the packing segment increases harvest levels. In order to attain the increased harvest levels, packers would need to increase the price paid for harvest-ready cattle. This would encourage producers to market cattle, even if at a lighter weight. Should this occur, a weather-influenced market would occur. While it is too early to determine if there is a weather-influenced market, the cattle feeding regions of the country have received the rainfall needed. It'll be important to watch for continued moisture as well as cold temperatures. Combined, these can influence cattle prices, causing the market to move higher than previous expectations. For the Angus Report and CattleFax, I'm Troy Bockelman.
To learn more about CattleFax, your leading source for beef industry market information, visit CattleFax.com.
Next on the Angus Report, we hear from Kelli Retallick, Director of Genetic Service.
She tells us about the association's whole herd reporting system, Maternal Plus, and she gives us some benefits to enrolling. Maternal Plus is the American Angus Association's whole herd inventory reporting system. The program is designed specifically for Angus producers who are looking to get the most out of their reproductive trait data. Kelli Retallick, Director of Genetic Service for Angus Genetics Incorporated, tells us how Maternal Plus can help producers make the most informed decision when selecting females to keep in the cow herd.
Maternal Plus is basically our whole herd inventory-based reporting system, and so it's a voluntary program for our members who can take advantage of basically this platform to collect cow production tools or cow production data in their herds so that we can work towards a longevity or stability type tool. Immediate benefits are going to include things like having more prediction accuracy on current tools like heifer pregnancy. Because you are giving us your heifer breeding records every year, obviously that's going to help us maintain an accuracy on that HP EPD. The second thing you get are some pretty cool Maternal Plus reports that are just for Maternal Plus users. One of those reports that I really enjoy is the genetic trend report. So basically that's a report that you can pick any trait that we offer and basically benchmark your herd against the entire Angus population. So how great of a marketing tool would that be if you are excelling beyond basically the breed genetic trend and allowing your cows to basically show what they can do. And then finally, you get calving ease, birth weight, and weaning weight EPDs on calves as soon as you enter their birth weight on them. So using those birth weights earlier in the evaluation, you could get those EPDs on those calves as soon as your calving season's over. So you can make some pretty early selection decisions as far as how you want to manage your next calf crop.
Maternal Plus is already playing a key role for some Angus producers.
We decided to change to Maternal Plus because there was so much more information that was put into the report, but could also be gleaned out to help us control inventory on cows, make breeding decisions because we were able to get the EPDs ahead of time, and also to be able to make really good decisions from the cow production records as to who we should keep and who we don't keep. So the first year is work because you have to clean those inventories up. So in AHIR, we never seemed to have the impetus to do that, and so we had cows that were probably gone 10 years. Once that's done, Maternal Plus becomes, in my opinion, very easy because you have a current inventory. All that information then plays in for the association on data on those cattle, but for me it also, I could go back and look at those records and say, here's what went right or here's what went wrong in our management scheme. Now, if you have 10 cows or you have 10,000 cows, that data is so important to the association to build these EPDs of stability or longevity.
Log into your AAA account or call the American Angus Association to learn more about the program. Up next, we visit with American Angus Association employees and hear what they're thankful for this year. Stay tuned.
Here at the American Angus Association, we are thankful for many things, but we are most thankful for our Angus family, our employees. We've sat down with a few of them and asked them how they spend their Thanksgiving and what they are most thankful for.
If you came to Thanksgiving at our house, it's a lot of food and generally a lot of people. We've got 6 kids and 5 of us at home with us.
It's always me and my kids and my husband, and it's been different throughout the years. Sometimes we'll drive to my family's house, and sometimes we'll spend it with our in-laws. It's usually just a really traditional, turkey, cozy afternoon, football's on in the background, and just hanging out and appreciating family and friends.
Thanksgiving with me and my family, we just go to a family friends. My grandma's best friend that she's been friends with for years, so we go down there with their families and just hang out and relax. We eat lunch and then usually watch football or play cards or hang out.
Well, between my husband and I, we have 6 kids, and so Thanksgiving can be a little crazy. Many times we can't always get together, but this year's gonna be different. We're super excited because my family's coming in from Arizona, so it'll be my dad and my stepmom.
So I grew up in Canada, and it's kind of news for a lot of our friends here that Canada does celebrate Thanksgiving as well, but it's earlier. And people ask, well, why is it not at the same time? And the answer I give, and I don't know if it's actually true or not, is it's because the harvest in Canada would be earlier because winter comes sooner. So, you know, if it's kind of around the harvest, then that kind of makes sense. I think as far as kind of North American holidays go, Thanksgiving is the envy of the world, I think. You know, when we go to New Zealand, Australia, they think Thanksgiving is great, and I think they kind of wish they had something like that.
We have funny traditions. It started when I was really little. I have a sister, and for some reason my family always put black olives on the table, and I don't know, I might have been 3 or 4, and eventually the black olives all ended up on my fingers. And so to this day, my sister and I, even if we aren't together, we'll send selfies of each other, of ourselves to each other with the black olives on our fingers. So I know.
You have to appreciate Thanksgiving for itself, and then after that, just roll right into Christmas.
What I think of when I think of Thanksgiving, I think of just being thankful for my family and my friends and everything I have, and just time with family too.
Here in the U.S., it's, yeah, lots of things to be thankful for, but people are really thankful for, like, the country. I still remember the first time we came to visit some friends in Upper New York State, and it was American Thanksgiving. You know, driving through these small towns and all the American flags that were out, that kind of respect that really stood out to me at the time.
Besides my family, being thankful for them and health and all of that, I got married in 2018, started at Angus, became part of the Angus family. So really I'm thankful for a lot of new beginnings and just having a fresh start in a lot of different areas of my life and ready for a new challenge in 2019.
So this year I'm most thankful for my son Cooper, who's 6 months old, and it's obviously his first Thanksgiving, so he's eating real food, so he will be chowing down.
You realize that it's the people around the table that you kind of draws you closer, I think. When you're kind of out of your comfort zone a little bit, you don't have the network you usually have. And so, yeah, my wife and children and everyone together is something I'm most thankful for.
Of course, family. I'm always grateful for my family and thankful and appreciative for that. And I've got to say this year I'm thankful for my new Angus friends and family. I just started my job this year, and I'm really thankful and appreciative for that.
We hope you've enjoyed your holiday and taken time to reflect on the things you are most thankful for. From our Angus family to yours, happy Thanksgiving.
You know, Bob, Thanksgiving is such a special time, and we're thankful for all of our staff here at the association.
Yeah, and I don't think we say it enough. We're also thankful for our association members and the commercial cattlemen as well.
Yeah, very well said.
All right, that's all for this week's Angus Report. We'll return next week at this time for more cattle news and highlights.
In the meantime, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Angus TV, for more from the association. Thanks for joining us.